Of course, you could say that. I'll let you I really have the right. Is I got a real sensitive microphone again? Just my last banquet.
Good evening. On behalf of the coaches, the players, the Norwalk baseball program, I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here. For those of you that have been here before, I welcome you back. For those of you who have been here for the first time, I welcome you and hope to see you for the next 4 years as well. We have a very exciting night planned. There's a great deal to celebrate tonight based on the success of all three of our teams within our program this past summer. And with that, if you were just taking note, the program basically is going to try to follow along with the itinerary that's located on the first page of the program that I handed out to you. It may fluctuate a little bit, but we're going to try to stay on that as well as best as possible. I'd like to begin by introducing the head table. And to my farthest right is Coach Marshall Enderlin. Coach Enderlin is our junior hire coordinator, and his wife. The next gentleman to my right is Coach Bob Jarrett and his wife Brenda, who's with their young ones somewhere around here. My immediate right is Coach Ryan Stensland. Ryan was our junior varsity coach this summer. My immediate left is, we haven't figured out what his job was yet this year, but he did a real good job, whatever it was. And he basically is my right-hand man. And this year, because we had another person to our staff, which we were very thankful for, is Coach Chadwick. Full blonde misfit is my 7-year-old, this is Paige, and my wife Stevie is back there. And to my farthest left is our volunteer coach in the springtime. He's the one that basically starts the year. We sort of end the year, and he does a terrific job. And that is Coach Lane and his wife. With that, I know it's we're getting started a little bit late. I do apologize for that. I hate that. The kids will tell you that. What we'll do is we will go in this order. The head table will go eat first, followed by the players. I would imagine in seniority order as well defined by this past summer. And then parents, however you want to find yourselves in line. At that particular time, once everybody gets rounded up and fed, we're going to go ahead and probably get started because we don't want to carry this thing on too long, and I promise you we won't. If you are still eating when we get started, please don't be offended. If at any time that you want to go back up, get seconds, feel free to get up. The bathrooms are located back over there in the corner. If you need to get up during the course of the banquet, please feel free to do so. Okay? With that, we'll dismiss the head table, and then we'll go ahead and pour.
Thank you.
Mark, it wouldn't be a regular program without you in there. Of course, we got to get Les in here too.
Hey, how you doing? We're taking over the
I don't know if this is cheese. I don't know if this is politically correct or not, but I think after putting down some of that food, I think there's a lot of moms in here that need to be thanked. I know how invaluable moms are when it comes to washing your clothes and making sure that you're fed, and all that becomes very important. So moms, based on my own experience, I thank you for that. It seemed like yesterday that we just got started at Echo Valley with our preseason parent meeting, and I'm hoping that after this year I still have some money to do that over again. We'll have to wait and see. You'll get that letter in the spring as to whether or not that can happen.
Make sure we got plenty of hors d'oeuvres next time.
I have to blame my wife. She ordered it.
We made up for it getting in line first this time. It's all right.
They don't want the mic, is that better?
Like
I'm not worried about me carrying the plane. It's Denzel I'm worried about. Alright. As I was saying, it seemed like yesterday that we were just being in Echo Valley, and I say the thank yous for last, but I think at this point in time, I need to thank all of you parents, because obviously, without belaboring the point, this summer was one of the most bizarre, if not inflexible, or having to be flexible type of summers that any team or program could ever have their parents and their players to be. And so with that, I thank you for your flexibility. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for the time and the efforts that you put in helping us through this very, what I would consider sort of a tumultuous time period for this summer. But I think as we got to the end of the year, I think most of you saw the benefits and the payoffs if you were able to get out and take a look at the new complex, which obviously is only going to get better in time. She's just real young right now, and she's going to get much, much better as time goes on. And so with that, parents, thank you very much for your flexibility. Thank you for everything that you did this summer in helping us through this. No one ever complained, no one ever whined, and I really appreciate that out of each and every one of you. What we'll do is to start with our freshman program, and as the head coach of our entire program, we have a certain philosophy that we follow, and you try to impart that upon the philosophy of the people that come in and that you hire as coaches. One of the things that we try to do both at our freshman and our JV level is try to instill the idea of fundamentals, try to instill the idea of understanding how to be a baseball player, both mentally and physically. Try to instill the idea that it's important for everybody to get the opportunities, to get those repetitions that they're going to need on an equal basis. Now, as we move up the ladder, obviously it becomes a little bit more sort of stratified in terms of people getting more playing time based on skills. And that's what happens at the varsity level. So I don't get really concerned with wins and losses, especially at the freshman and JV level. What I look for is to see how much growth there is, how much development there is, and whether or not our players are achieving those particular skills and those fundamentals that are going to make us successful at the varsity level. And so with that, I think we had two gentlemen that did an outstanding job for us this year in doing exactly what I asked them to do. They were a great benefit. They brought a great deal of knowledge with them, and they were fantastic to have around and helping us through this summer as well as developing our younger players. And so with that, I'm going to let Coach Gehring give you a quick synopsis of his freshman season, and then he's going to present certificates of participation, and then also present the Most Valuable Player Award to the freshman team, and then an award that, as far as coaches are concerned, we feel probably is the greatest tribute that we can give to any of our players, and that is the Coach's Appreciation Award, which we will hand out at every level tonight. The Coach's Appreciation Award basically goes to those young men who define the term team play. They may not be the person that gets to play a lot, but they define what attitude is, they define what it means to be a role player, they define what it means just to be there because they like being there, they do everything that you ask with a positive attitude, without ever having to whine about it, without ever having to make a face about it, without doing anything negatively. They are the type of people that we love and that are needed on a team if you're going to be both competitive and successful. So with that, I'd like to present Coach Gary and his freshman team.
Okay, as Coach Lammers mentioned, freshman baseball is not just about wins and losses. Although, and the kids and I both want to win each and every game, we did end up with a 15-19 record. We kind of went through a stretch where we were about 10-6, 12-6, and then went through a stretch where we had a couple losses to Newton, and we got beat pretty bad by Newton, and that kind of took something out of us. But we battled back at the end and played again better at the end of the year. We did not give up the entire year. We had to overcome some obstacles. One thing, as Coach Lammers mentioned, was place to practice, place to play. And we really were helped out that we did have some home games. The parents were able to get to games without always going on the road. They had to go to Fort Des Moines. But that was, we really appreciate the people at Fort Des Moines letting us use the field. And a special thank you to Mrs. Stoker for helping out with Fort Des Moines. And also to Marshall Enderlin for always having the field ready for us to play. We play right after junior high. And things went pretty well, and then we were able to finish with our last 2 home games on the new field. One thing, too, that was kind of interesting, as I mentioned, coming into a new program, I learned a lot this year. You know, I've been coaching for 10 years, and still I learned a lot this year and learned some new things, some different things. And I'd really like to thank Coach Lammers, Coach Freeman, Coach Stenslin for all their help. You're really lucky here to have such a quality program where the kids do learn baseball, they learn a lot of other things too. And you're lucky to have a person like Coach Lammers running your program. You have an outstanding program. Before I get to the players, 3 people that I'd like to thank for their help this year. I had 3 managers. I believe they're here tonight. Marissa Schmidt, Sandy Hildbrand, and Kristen White. And they were at all the games. At least one of them was at every game. That's making a commitment during the summer, keeping stats, helping out, and was able to get season stats finished, mainly because of their help. I was able to look through the book and get things done. So I'd like to thank them, and if they can stand up here somewhere. We had 18 players on the freshman team. Now, a couple of the players that Brian Lexinger and Cody Fry only played a few freshman games. They played mainly JV this year, but they were there for maybe 6 or 8 freshman games, and we have 16 other players. We were able to get everyone into the games. In fact, started usually 2 completely different lineups, and everyone had over 20 at bats for sure, which was nice. And all our pitchers threw at least 10 innings this year, if not more. So that was kind of nice. As I introduce each member of the freshman team, and say a little bit about each person, please come up behind and I'll introduce you. The first person, Brendan Booth. Brendan was a pitcher for us this year, as well as an outfielder. He was 3-0 on the mound. Did a great job in the outfield as well. Did a good job. Adam Fisher is the next person. Adam pitched, played outfield at the start of the year, and then he kind of got moved to catcher. In fact, one game he threw out 4 or 5 runners against Perry. He threw out probably for the year, I think, about 10 of about 15 runners. So he did a great job behind it. The next person, Alex Woodridge. Alex pitched, played third base. Did a good job on the mound, throwing strikes. He had kind of an injury with his hand where he wasn't able to bat maybe as well as he wanted to, and he wasn't able to bat as many times as some of the other players, but he did a good job too. Next, Brad Johnson. Brad played the outfield for us. Did a real nice job. Hit over the cutter. Did a real nice job. ball toward the end of the year. Greg Kettles, and I don't believe Greg is here tonight. Justin Lewis. Some of these people, Tony Miller, some of these people did a real nice job for us too, and they called during the week. They're on family vacations, which is understandable. Next one, Kenny Roberts, and Kenny really pitched in many games. I mean, he was kind of our closer. He came in through a lot of games, threw really well for us, and also did a nice job on second base. Boone played third base, first base. Had some big hits this year, led us in RBIs, had, I believe, 3 home runs, a grand slam, 1 game. Nice job. Jeremy Stevens. Okay. Jeremy did a nice job for us, too, playing shortstop. About get over 350 this year. Josh Stoker. Josh played second base. Was one of our best defensive players, and also did a nice job hitting the ball for the ball player. Cole Sony. Cole was probably our best pitcher this year. Had a 5-2 record on the mound. Did a nice job on the mound. Also really hit the ball well, hitting over 400. Adam's parents called. He's on vacation, so he's not able to be here, but he also did a nice job at through our one shutout. Sean Pratt. Sean did a nice job winning outfield for us. Really hit the ball towards the end of the year. Did a nice job all around. Jeff Wilkins. Jeff played center. Defensively, but also offensively, led us in many offensive categories. The most valuable player award this year, and the most valuable player was voted on by the team members, and our most valuable player led us in many, as I said, many offensive categories. Had 6 home runs and a couple other balls that were off the top of the fence. Now, we played up Fort Des Moines, however, I think he hit 2 or 3 of the home runs on the road, and a couple of the others wouldn't have made a difference where we were playing. Most valuable player is Jeff Wilkins. And the Coach's Appreciation Award goes to someone who was put in a lot of tough spots. Did a nice job, never complained once, threw a lot of innings for us this year, put in a lot of tough spots, and sometimes he didn't get the defensive support. I didn't let that bother him. He just went out there and threw strikes. And our Coach's Appreciation Award goes to Kenny Roberts. Yeah. All right, I believe we're to the JV now.
Coach Stensland came to us from Eagle Grove, and we've been following the tournament trails at all. He's probably regretted the fact that Eagle Grove's in the state tournament coming up this weekend. But we gave him a hard time coming from a 2A program into a 3A program, and he did an outstanding job for us this year. He was able to make the kids really well and imparted a great deal of knowledge on them in terms of fundamentals, and I thought he did a terrific job with our junior varsity, because from point A, and I kept telling him, because we kept worrying about, the wins and losses, and I kept telling him, all I want to see is where our growth is from point A to point B. And I will have to say that from point A to point B, there was a substantial amount of growth, which is what I'm looking for. And so with that, Coach Stensland with GBC.
I want to thank you on this. Let's move this along. First of all, I want to start off by thanking the coaching staff here at Norwalk. Coach Lambert said I did come from Eagle Grove, and there's a heck tradition here. And it's a privilege to get to be a part of this program and to have the support from not only the players, but the parents and the fans. It's greatly appreciated, and I want to thank the parents and the supporters of this program for including me and making me feel at home this year. Especially want to thank Coach Lammert. First time I met Coach Lammert, I came in and interviewed, and we were sitting down in Mr. Collins' office, and he said, "Well, what would you like to drink?" And he pulled out a Mountain Dew, and he had me hooked right there. I love Mountain Dew. And I said, this guy's not too bad. But I want to thank you, Coach Lammert, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this program. The season this year, we were 6-14, and as Coach Lammert said, there was a tremendous amount of growth throughout the year. I went back and looked at the season on our score sheet, and really the season could be broken down into three parts. The first third of the season, we struggled, both from an execution standpoint and from a fundamental standpoint. But the last 2/3 of the season, there was significant improvement. And just to illustrate that, I do not have any individual statistics, but I'm a big believer in team sport. And the start of the season, our team batting average was $1.65. And the last 2/3 of the season, we picked it up actually about 280, and we ended the season at about 247. Now, defensively, the first third of the season, the first 7 games of the season, we had 23 errors in the first 7 games. Over the last 2/3 of the season, we had 24 errors. So, as you can see, there was a significant improvement from the defensive standpoint also. I do have some individual comments, and I'll bring up some guys that played on the team. And there's also some guys that played on the JV team that will be recognized by Coach Lammert. But overall, it's an excellent group of young men. They're fun to be around. They make coming to the ballpark fun. It's something to look forward to each and every day. To start off with one of our freshmen that played for us this year, Ryan Lightson. My goal this year was to get Brian to talk a little bit. I don't know if I achieved that goal or not. Brian made tremendous strides pitching this year. He was thrown into the fire, really. And the fact that, he's facing a lot of times juniors, freshmen, through juniors, sometimes a couple of seniors. And he did an outstanding job. Dan McGonigal. Dan, I called him Matt, and players would oftentimes say, "Coach, his name's not Matt, it's Matt, or it's Dan." But I had the privilege of coaching a couple of McGonigals up Eagle Grove, and Dan was a pleasure to have on the team this year. He played the infield, second base in particular, and very good executioner up at the plate, running the ball. Anytime he had quite a few sacrifices this year, led the team in sacrifices. Brandon Perkle was one of our outfielders this year, and he was the leadoff guy and did an excellent job of fitting into that role, getting on base and stealing bases, playing smart and aggressive baseball on the base pattern. Richard, Justin's not here tonight, but he was our lone lefty on the team. And he did a nice job of filling in the outfield, and really came on strong at the end of the year offensively. Ben Rubenke. Ben's another one of our freshmen who started out the year playing third base. We looked at him a little bit at first base, and then he injured his knee. And had to end up having knee surgery, so sat out most of the season. Hopefully, Ben in the offseason will get back on track, get the knee rehab, and he can start throwing for it. Ryan Schluger, he's not here tonight. He also played in the outfield, and did a nice job, both offensively and defensively. Kyle Seidel. Kyle played third base for us this year, and I'm most proud of Kyle for the fact that he always kept me on my toes, but I'm most proud of him for the fact that defensively he came on strong at the end of the year. He really buckled down and had a great second half of the season. Yeah, Kyle introduced me to the tabletop, in which if you don't know what that is, they get one guy to sneak in behind you, and the other guy comes up, kind of bumps you, and you go rolling over. Our last JV guy we'll talk about tonight is Greg Spear. Greg played the outfield this year, filled in real nicely in the outfield, made a couple of great plays this year for us. Also at the plate, showed a significant improvement at the plate this year. He went from the beginning of the season struggling to hit the ball to the end of the season making good contact. Our first award tonight is for the most valuable player. This young man was a workhorse for us this year. Had the best record pitching-wise to get 4 wins on the JV. He also had a save, and he's very flexible, and he made a tremendous amount of improvements over the course of the year. One of the things as a JV coach, it gives you a great feeling when Coach Lambert will come down and say, hey, do you have anybody that has been showing improvement that can step up and play for us up at the varsity level? And this one young man did just that. Gained a tremendous amount of confidence throughout the year on the mound, and I'm very proud of his performance this year. Paul Keegan. Last award goes to the Coach's Appreciation Award, and this goes to a young man who didn't necessarily get a tremendous amount of playing time, but he was always there. And he always knew his role on the team and never strayed from that role, whatever it may be. This year the award goes to Greg Spear.
The over-under was 10 minutes, so if you bet over, you did a good job. What we'll go to now is take a look at the varsity season. And I guess one thing that I would mention in terms of our freshman and junior varsity seasons is the fact that one of the things we look for is enough growth in our young men that they're going to be able to compete next year for a varsity job. And as I've told all of you and our parents meetings at the end of the year, I don't care if it's an 8th grader and I don't care if it's a senior in between. We put the 9 best kids out on the field and give us a chance to win. And this year's team obviously was a team that was dominated by a group of very talented seniors. And when you can put 8 seniors out there at a time, it becomes a very relaxing thought process for you, because this was maybe the first year where I just stepped back and I actually just got to enjoy watching. just simply because these young men were in our program for 4 years and sort of understood the expectations that are laid out to them. But it takes more than just 8 guys. You know, we had a roster of 18 people, and it takes 18 people in order to put together a season of accomplishments that we were able to accomplish. And I'm not going to belabor all of those accomplishments that were achieved this year, because I think most of us probably already know what they were. And I'm very, very proud of these young men and what they were able to accomplish. And although it may be, we may have fallen short of one goal that we had in mind, that we had set for ourselves at the beginning of the year. And it may hurt a little bit more after seeing who came out of that particular year. As I told the fellas, the guys after the ball game, I said, you have nothing to feel bad about. You should have no regrets, because what you accomplished was something that no other team in this school's program has ever accomplished. And for that, I think that this varsity team deserves a great round of applause for what the success that they had. Take a look at success, you know, as a coach. Sometimes coaches get wrapped up in what their wins and losses are. And I guess to me, the ultimate compliment that can be given to any program is the comments that other coaches, respect that other coaches have for your program and the young men that are within that program. I think, by and large, that becomes a compliment of their upbringing. And I say this until tonight because throughout the course of the year, some very highly respected coaches that I respect had nothing but praise and positive comments to make about our kids. You know, and our kids don't understand that the perception that they portray goes a long way to the type of respect that they get in return. You can't believe in those particular comments those coaches made the minute the kids get off the bus until the game is over with. How those kids conduct themselves and how they present themselves goes a long way in how they are perceived and what kind of respect that this program achieves because of that. And there were 3 coaches this year that paid us the highest compliment that could be paid to any program. And for that, I thank you, and I thank the kids for allowing that type of respect and that type of perception to exist within our program, because that's very, very important. As we go on, and as I said before, we may have fallen one goal short. And for those that are leaving us, we shouldn't take it with us. But for those of you that are coming back, it should burn inside of you for the next 12 months. And if it doesn't, then you shouldn't be here and you shouldn't be back next year. You know, sports is kind of a double-edged sword. You know, when we finished the season, my first thought was that I couldn't wait to get back after it again for 2 reasons. One was because we lost a lot, but on the other end, it was because we didn't get to where we wanted to be. And so, with that, I hope that our young kids understand the success that we had this year. I hope that they understand the leadership that they followed. And I also hope that what happened in that final game burns in you and motivates you to make you work even harder for the upcoming next year. So with that, what I would like to do is to present our varsity letter winners and participation certificates at this particular time. I'm going to jump around the itinerary here just a little bit. And then we're going to go through and then we're going to present the captains and allow them to make their short speeches, and then go to our awards and most valuable defensive choir, offensive choir, most valuable education, our coach appreciation, what else are MVP. So with that, I'm going to read off some of these names and recognize these kids. And when we get to the seniors, Coach Green is going to help me present some of these things. First young man that we expect a great deal from here in the next 3 years, and has a great deal of raw talent. It's someone that we think is going to be very productive for us. Did an outstanding job with his role, and that was bullpen, as a bullpen catcher this year. But just based on what he was able to accomplish at the JV level as a freshman, and then being around varsity for most of the season, we expect huge things out of him in the next couple of years, and that's Cody Fry. Next young man stepped in and did a great job. It was sort of by default that he ended up with a uniform for some whatever reason it might be. And his kamikaze-like approach to the base pass was sometimes scary. But, you know, it probably was going to be one of the highlights of his life on that night we played Martinsdale St. Mary's. If you were at the ball game in which he catches the ball in right field, throws the kid out at home, which basically was the play that changed the entire scope of the ball game. And, you know, if that's the type of raw talent that he showed, we're expecting a great deal from him in the next couple of years, and there's Sean Conley. Next young man is a person I have a great deal of respect for, and you know, when you're in this long enough, there are certain kids that come along that sort of win you over. They may not win you over with their God-given talents, they may not win you over with the way they're able to play, but they win you over because they are the epitome of what you want every one of your players to be like. And this young man is a young man who basically has one of the greatest attitudes that I've ever been around. Knows his role, knows his limitations, and accepts those limitations, and for that earns a great deal of respect from the coaches, and that is Matt Welch. Matt? The next young man came to us from Missouri, and I know Missouri, they play spring baseball, and it's a little different when you're playing in the spring and trying to make that adjustment to Iowa baseball in the summertime. And this young man I thought, just did a terrific job. It's tough. I mean, it's real tough when you're a junior and you move into a new school district and you're trying to fit in and find your niche, and you have to go out and you have to prove yourself day in and day out. Because I moved enough in my life that I understand how that works. And I think this young man did a terrific job, and he's going to have to step in for us next year and fill an infield role position for us, and that is Mason Winder. Mason. Criteria for lettering at the varsity level, and this is one of the things, and I'm going to make a little bit of an editorial here, is, and you parents know this, know exactly what I'm talking about, and that is understanding the honor and the prestige that came with lettering in high school. You were proud of putting a letter on your coat and wearing it around and having everything hanging off it, you know. Remember the wrestlers had like 8,000 medals and pins all over the place, and they were lopsided when they walked. You know, but I don't quite understand what has happened here. There's something that has transformed either in our society or in the mentality of our athletes, in which that letter just doesn't seem to be quite as important. And for me, that's a little bit disappointing, because I still hold that letter as a level of prestige and honor that you have earned something, that you've worked your butt off for, that you have been recognized for that, both for your skills, your attitude, and your work ethic, and that comes, that you get that for that sacrifice. But for some reason, and I'm saying this to you because I tried and attempted and worked very hard at this Letter Winners Club, and Nathan can understand where I'm coming at with this, that it just doesn't seem like our athletes appreciate and understand what that letter means. And if you take a look at what our lettering policy is. It's in the handbook. It's read to the kids in the spring at the beginning of every year. And that is that they have to meet a certain amount of games play. Pitchers have to meet a certain amount of appearances. And we have a very high standard by which we try to keep those kids to meet those particular goals. And so, with that, the first letter winner this year did a great job for us to build in really a blank space in our lineup. And actually, it was much more offensively productive than what we anticipated, although in our evaluations early, we thought he was going to be very productive for us. We just didn't realize he was going to be that productive. Played a great outfield for us defensively, and got much more comfortable there as the year went on. And that was Josh Hannon. Josh. The next young man, if you were down at Oskaloosa, we had a situation. You know, if you're going to do things and achieve your goals, your objectives during the course of the year, the planets have to be aligned just right. You know, everything has to fall into place. There can't be any disruptions. There can't be anything to disrupt that rhythm that you have as you go through the course of the season. And God knows we have a lot of disruptions. I don't think anybody's ever going to clearly understand just exactly what this team went through in terms of its disruptions, and then to produce the type of season they had, I think is unbelievable. In fact, I think it's short of miraculous, to be quite honest with you. You know, as coaches, we talk about that all the time. We could not understand how it was that we were able to do the things that we were able to do through the course of the year. Oskaloosa was one of those times when those planets sort of disintegrated in front of us. We were down there, we were playing for the conference championship. We win a very gutty 9-8 ball game in the front end of the doubleheader. Well, in that particular doubleheader, our starting pitcher for the second game gives himself up, dives for a ball, and I'm talking about Michael, dives for a ball hits a piece of something in the infield. He reacts naturally like any good infielder is going to, reaches back with his bare hand, splices his index finger, he's bleeding profusely when he comes over. And little did we know that he actually broke the top, or at least cracked or something, the top of his middle finger, which means he couldn't throw it. If you saw him later on, he ended up with a cast on it. Well, now we're in emergency mode. If we're going to save this championship, we've got to have somebody who's going to be willing to step up for us in an emergency situation. And I hope that this young man who filled in most admirably in 4 innings did a terrific job. When he left, the score is 3-2 in the 5th inning. Just did an outstanding job. I hope that is something that we're going to consistently see next year. Because I'll tell you what, Jim, you're going to have to do that consistently. Okay? And he just did an outstanding job, and he's going to have to be a workhorse, obviously, next year and pick up a lot more innings than he did this year. That's Jim McConnell. This young man, again, toward the end of the year, when we're in that emergency mode, also stepped in for us and did a terrific job. I think, you know, the game of his life, at least at the varsity level, happened to be the Urbandale game, if you were there that night, in which we bring him in relief. He hits a 2-run bomb, makes the score 6-2, and then he pitches a great next couple of 2-3 innings. And he came back in and also played a very, very good defense at first base for us at the end of the year when we had to move some things around to make some things work. And just did a terrific job, and we expect a great deal more from him next year, obviously, and that's Chad Bates. Chad? This young man's playing time wasn't as much as it was the year before because Danny finally stayed healthy for one season. And we weren't in need of as many innings as we had needed him during the sophomore year. But I will tell you this, and I'm being quite honest with you, I had no reservations at any time if we ever needed to have Josh play that we would lose anything defensively from Josh Stairs. And the other thing is, there was a lot of catchers in our conference this year, and I would put Josh up against any of them. He was probably the best second catcher in the entire conference. And next year, he's going to have to step up. He's going to have to play. He's going to have to become a big role, a big part of any success that we have next year against Josh Stairs.
Keep thinking about now. It's all right.
The next young man I saw had a great deal of growth, maturity, and stepped in and did a great job for us in certain situations where we needed him to fill in. And I think this year of having that particular experience is only going to be beneficial for him next year. And hopefully he won't be as comfortable just courtesy running, and then he'll be just as comfortable in the field as he was doing that this year. But that being said, I don't think people realize just how important that particular position is as well. Because, you take a great deal of chances on the base pass, and there are people who don't understand and have the instinct to be able to perform that role. And this young man did a great job with that this year. But we're also expecting them to fill in and be comfortable in an infield position next year as well, as Brett said. The next young man played second base, played shortstop, played third base, pitched. Basically, because of that role and because of the type of performance that he had this past year, hitting .407 on the season, and having an outstanding win-loss record, being 5-0 with a 1 point. You can look at your stats; it's 1.78 or 1.70 or something to that effect. I can't remember a time, except for one young man, in which we've had a sophomore who's had as good a season and who did not play like he was a sophomore, but played like he was a senior. There was no difference in his particular abilities. There was no difference in his demeanor. He is probably the most calm, cool, and collected young man. Probably, of anybody that I've ever coached, probably has some of the greatest instincts for the game that I've ever been around. And I'll tell you what, without him stepping up as a sophomore and having the season performance that he did, I can honestly tell you that I don't think that we're as successful as we are, because he did an outstanding job for us. And I'm just thankful that we got him back for another couple of years, and that is second team all-conference and second team all-district infielder, pitcher, Mike Donovan. There's a reason why Coach is standing here now. We're going to begin to recognize our seniors, and as we do, this is going to jump around the itinerary a little bit. We're just going to have to put it all together and recognize the all-conference, all districts, and also the seniors' plaques at the same time. And when you coach, it becomes very difficult to say goodbye to your seniors. And there are some classes that you don't feel too bad about getting rid of. and we may have had one or two of those classes in our tenure that we've been here. And then on the other hand, there are certain groups that you wish you could hold on to forever. And this particular group, after the ballgame, I told them the story. I'm going to relate it to you. I went back at the beginning of the year and I was cleaning out some of my files. And I've been doing baseball camps around this area since about 1990 or so. 1992, we did a camp. It was called, and your parents may remember this, it was the Dick Birmingham baseball camp. It was an all-day, 8 hours, 5 days worth of camps. And for some bizarre reason, I have the list, the enrollment list in my files. I'm going through and I'm cleaning these out. And I thought, well, you know, for kicks and giggles, I'll go through and I'll take a look at who was all enrolled in those particular camps. Well, it amazed me, and I had forgotten all about it, that list of those people on those attendance lists also happened to be 8 seniors that were playing for us this year. And as I recall that, I began to feel very, very old. Because I can remember almost each and every one of them and their personalities, even at that young age. But I also remember, and Coach Weidman, who was actually playing for me at the time, who was assisting us in those camps, also remember what kind of ability levels and skill levels that these young men had, and that we thought, once they became high school age, what kind of success they could produce. And so it is, with a great deal of regret, we have to say goodbye. And with that, what we hope is that they take a little piece of us with them into the future, and that we have given them at least some type of a springboard to be successful. And I don't mean that by wins and losses. I mean that by understanding and respecting discipline, understanding and respecting authority, understanding and respecting people, themselves, each other, and the people that they play against. And I can honestly say that this is one of the classiest groups of seniors that we've ever had go through this program. And so, as difficult as it might be to say goodbye, it is also with a great deal of excitement that we also wish them a great deal of luck as they move into their next life, which is the real world, which fellas is going to get real tough. And so, first young man that I would like to make a couple remarks about is a young man who probably meant more to this ball club than a lot of people realize, and probably did not end the way that he probably wanted it to. And I know it didn't end the way I wanted it to, or anybody else for that matter. But there's nobody that felt worse about what transpired than this young man. And as you look at it, you have to look at what the positives were that came out of it, and what he provided for our team. If you take a look at those stats, 5-0 with a 1.7 ERA, not to mention the energy level, the excitement that he brought to the field every single day, every single pitch, every single out, every single inning, every single game. It was amazing. And it was remarkable because, you know, as coaches, we recognize little things. And other coaches recognize little things like that. And I had 4 coaches who basically said the spark plug, they're very complimentary. They said, Coach, you got a nice ball club. You got a great ball club. I said, the spark plug that glued that whole team is that little second baseman we got. I said, I know that. You know? And I think more than anything else, it doesn't matter what kind of stats or awards that you get. I think the greatest compliment that you get is that recognition from other coaches when they see the importance that you have on that ball club. And so with that, this young man leaves us with a great deal of contribution and lots of memories as David did. came to me and you said, hey, Coach, would you mind just taking a look at our young man and see what he can do and see whether or not you can give us any kind of direction as to where we should go to school? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to. I remember this because it was by those old sand pits at the old field. We had a discussion about the old batting cage. So this scrawny little skinny kid shows up, and we put him through his workouts. In fact, Coach Weedman was there that day. We put him through his workouts. You know, we hit him some ground balls. We test his arm strength across the infield. You know, and you could see at the beginning, just in that particular little bit that we did, that there was a great deal of raw talent and instincts that we felt we really would like to have. And so I thank you for allowing us to be part of your young man's life. And it's amazing if you watch. One of the things that I've always said is that one of the greatest things to see is to watch seniors in the maturation process of their senior year and how much confidence they gain in becoming that age. And I think this young man is the epitome of that. If you took a look, if you watched him play, he had an unbelievable year. You know, most valuable player type year. And he grew and he worked his butt off. His arm strength improved, his pitching improved, his defense improved, his hitting obviously improved. Time with Danny for the team lead in batting average of a .453 batting average. Because of that, was recognized by other coaches as being a first team all-conference unanimous pick, as well as a first team all-district pick, missing unanimous by 1 vote. And this young man is going down to Simpson. I don't know if you'd be happy about that. Play for the Storm next year, Coach Sirianni, and then it's Kyle for We talk a lot about problems of specialization in this time of sports with kids' lives. And I've been a firm believer that you never ever specialize. The better, more rounded young man is in his athletic abilities as well as his mental abilities, to me, is what's more important than deciding to specialize in one particular sport. This young man, I would have liked to have seen how good he could have been had he just specialized in our sport, because there's probably nobody maybe that had more raw talent and better skills than this young man right here. But, you know, we didn't see him a lot because he's like doing everything, being a four-sport athlete, four-sport letter winner, and was a very important cog in our pitching staff this year. Which, oh, by the way, if you didn't look at what our team ERA was, I think those alumni that are here tonight can attest to the fact that I take a great deal of pride in what our pitching staff is able to do. And this pitching staff this year, along with Michael, Kyle, and Nathan, and this young man, put together a team record of 2.45 ERA on the season, which if you know anything about aluminum bats in high school baseball, that is phenomenal. And this young man was a very important reason for that, and that is Aaron Emery. Aaron was also a first-team all-conference selection, utility player unanimous as well. When I say this in a very, very respectful and friendly way. And that is, I don't know if there's anybody on the bus that drove me more nuts than this kid. You know, when you're on the road for 24 straight games, and you compile a 20-4 record in that time period, you know, you can about digest everything. You know, and not get really upset about it. But I'll tell you what, there were times when I felt like jumping out of the window, listening to some of the things that we had to listen to. And this young man did a tremendous job for us this year. And I'm very, very proud, not of his physical development, but maybe more or less what may be more important was his mental development in terms of the game of baseball. And what I mean by that is to understand that as an athlete, you have to accept things for what they happen and not make excuses for why you may fail. Because once you start making excuses for failure, you failed then to correct the problems that occurred in the failure to begin with. And this young man, I thought, was probably developed the greatest mentally of any player that I've had in a long time. So much so that he was a first-team all-conference selection in the outfield, as well as a first-team all-district selection, and that was center fielder and leadoff hitter Brandon. It would have been nice to see what this young man could have done had he been in the lineup all year. Limited because of the knee injury, playing some sport that we learned in 5th grade recess. But at a time when we went through one of those particular bumps in the road, it was almost as though he got his job back by default. And that was fine, because I knew in the wings that he was going to step in and that he was going to be able to perform for us. And we're very happy that he did, because he obviously did a great deal for our lineup in hitting in the 4th spot, pretty much anywhere where we put him in the lineup. But like I said, if you take a look at the stats, the young man hit 374, 360-something for us this year in all of our games. It would have been nice to have been able to have him for the whole year, because he is an absolutely phenomenal natural athlete, and that is Jerry Lane. Honorable mention.
That's Randy's boy right there.
You know, speaking of that, Randy,
I didn't say anything. I'm staying out of it.
I know, but you along with this next young man and their parents, I wish all you parents could produce 3 ball players like these 2 families did. Because I'll tell you what, it's been a joy to have coached all of their sons at some point in time or another. And this young man, if you had to put the term utility to somebody, that would be this person epitomized. Because he pitched, he played first, he played second, he played short, he played third. And if I bet I would have asked him, he would have played left field when we needed him to. And not a time, nor was there any time that was ever said that this young man ever complained about it. He took it on as a challenge. In fact, he invited it upon himself to see how well that he could do. And because of that, this young man was able to achieve a lot of things that a lot of other kids would love to try to achieve, in a sense of what he was able to accomplish in terms of recognition, and that was 2nd team all-conference as a pitcher or utility guy. I think it's utility. And 2nd team all-district as a pitcher, and that's Nathan Sawyer. And last but not least, I sort of say this person to last. There is no single individual that's more important to the success of a team than a good catcher. And I bet if you ask any pitcher, they can tell you that. And one of the reasons for this young man to last because of all these kids, these 8 seniors that are leaving us. I've worked most extensively with Danny. And Danny and I have known each other since he was in 3rd grade, I believe. And Ed came to me one day, during the winter time, he said, "Mind working with Danny a little bit." So we got started with the swing. And from that point on, almost every winter, we worked out upstairs. And like I said, it makes me feel old, but there isn't someone, I don't think, in terms of our program that probably has had as much of an impact in terms of success and bringing about a sense of understanding the game of baseball, being just a baseball fanatic and baseball player, as this young man has done. And that is, and because of that, he was able to achieve unanimous selection in the first team all-conference as a catcher, and also first team all-district as a catcher this year, and that is Danny Schultz. And one young man I don't want to forget, he's not here tonight, and that is Mike Scott. Mike didn't have as good of a year as he had the year before, but he was still at a game, very productive for us, and did a nice job down the stretch, and so I don't think we can forget him either. The next thing I'd like to present, look at your itinerary, is to present to you your captains for this year. They're going to say a couple of things, and I'd also like to present them with their captain's awards. And if I may, just very quickly, the kids vote on all the awards. The coaches also have a vote, but it's really the kids because in the end, our votes probably don't count. But when you vote for our captains really become our assistant coaches. And if I may just quickly read to you what the criteria is. At times, they show a positive approach to practices, games, teammates, coaches, fans, and opponents who do not show any outward emotions that make themselves or the team look bad. They are positive role models in and out of school and show complete dedication to the program by adhering to the rules outlined in the handbook. They are a positive influence on the team player, whether they're playing or not. They are willing to make other teammates better by their example of hard work, dedication, practice games, and positive verbal reinforcement of practicing games. They are willing to put in extra time in the offseason to make themselves better and encourage others to work hard in the offseason. Help create team unity and chemistry among all team members. Be respected by their teammates for their abilities and personal qualities. Be able to provide leadership on their own accord. Be entrusted by the coaches to provide positive leadership. And they are a person with strong leadership qualities. That's the criteria that our kids read through before they decide on who they want their captains to be. And I don't think, in the 7 years or 6 years, however long it's been now since Coach Weaver and I have had this program, that we've ever had 2 players who epitomize those particular qualities better than our 2001 captains, Danny Schultz and Nate Sawyer. On behalf of the players and of the parents and the rest of the coaches, I'd just like to thank Coach Lammers and the rest of the coaches for a great season. We all know what they put into the season. And it's not just the record this year. I mean, yeah, we had a good record, but we also had a lot of challenges this year, as far as being on the road and whatnot. And also the new baseball field. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes time that these coaches put in. I know Coach Lammers sometimes up there at 7 o'clock in the morning working on our new field. Get down about 9 o'clock at night. It's hard for Stevie Page. So I think we need to give him a big round of applause.
outside of our dugout is filled with lawn chairs, parents supporting us. It's really nice. So big round of applause for the parents.
We got the coaches again this year. It's a little different than the way we've done it in years past. Since this was a very special season, we want to give the coaches something that they could remember, something they could look at every once in a while, not just a night out on the town dinner. So, Coach Lambert's going to have you up here first. Some of your parents and players probably haven't seen this yet. What we did was on a Sunday night, we all met up the field, got the field in somewhat good shape because it was a little wet. But we had the players go out on the field and we took an aerial shot of the players with all their uniforms on. Bring back memories for a special season and also a big field at Norwalk Iowa. Thanks, guys. Yep. Coach Stales and we got
A lot of times I'm speechless. Thanks. That's special.
You can also check out the other pictures on partypicks.com.
See, I told you. I tell you. With that, I'd also like to then present next year's captains as voted on by both the sophomores and the juniors, what we would consider to be at this particular time our varsity team for next year. And they have two huge sets of shoes to fill. And if they can just live up to half of what these two gentlemen, young men, did for us over the course of this year, they're going to be just fine. And so next year, Norwalk baseball program's captains for the 2002 season is Michael Donahoe and Josh Sterry. There you go. Well, that's okay, Mike. You said you had something that you wanted to.
Sing and dance for it? I don't know. This is the start. This could be dangerous.
This is it?
Since I was the only other starter but Andrews, I guess I get to talk in that. Okay, JV and the varsity players went together to get you a little something to remember this year by. We want to thank you for your leadership in our 29-7 year and 29-8 year, and we'd like to wish you all the best in college. We got you a little teaching that says 2001 Norwalk High School Warriors, and it has a number.
Aaron's at
that 24 or 44? All right.
We went with the
One of the things that I had failed to mention that was to me unbelievable. And everyone knows about our problems in terms of having to be on the road. And we tried as a coaching staff, best to our ability to turn that into as much of a positive as we possibly could. You know, it's one thing to try to sell it. It's another thing as to whether or not it's going to be bought. And you have to look at who your consumer is in terms of who's buying. And what amazed me, and coaches and I have talked about this quite at length, was that in those 24 times when we got on that bus, there was never one time where any player ever said anything negative about having to get on that bus and then getting off that bus. And I think to do that and have that kind of mental approach and positive mental attitude for 24 times, because you know what it's like being on a bus 24 straight times in a row? Yeah, I know you do that. But it says a great deal about the type of team that we have this year. And I think maybe that more than anything else really says as much as any record. With that then, we're ready to begin to conclude tonight. And so therefore, we'd like to make the presentations of our awards. And again, these awards were all chosen by the players themselves and votes that they cast. And I would like to begin with our Most Valuable Pitcher Award, as voted on by players. As I kind of evaluated our pitching staff, and most of you would probably have noticed this, that toward the end of the year, we had to start running into some situations where guys were going on some very short notice of rest, 3 to 4 days. Normally as a coach, I don't like to do that. But because of circumstances and because of the schedule, we found some guys, especially Nathan and Aaron, who had to begin to labor a little bit and throw a lot of pitches without a great deal of rest. And I think for both of them, it was a very, very gutty performance. And also as a player, I don't know whether you can choose one or the other in terms of being most valuable, because I perceive our entire staff as being the most valuable pitcher. Because you don't get to 29 wins and perform and accumulate a 2.43 ERA in high school and have the type of strikeout to walk ratio that we were able to accumulate unless you have a great staff. And that staff usually has to be at least 1 through 6 guys. And so therefore, I think this person would probably more than likely make the same comments accepted on behalf of all of the pitching staff, as voted by their peers as their most valuable pitcher this year is Aaron Inderman. Sorry, Steve. I'm going to get out in front, if that's all right.
Feel more comfortable.
Our next award is our most valuable defensive award. And I might as well make it the most valuable offensive award as well, because this person garnered the votes of their peers for both awards. And normally, we don't like to do that, because actually in the awards, the ballots, I have to choose one player per award, rather than having one kid for all of them. Well, it turned out that this young man, most of them didn't listen to me. Either that, they can't read. because they ended up voting this young man the most valuable offensive and most valuable defensive player of their team. And to be honest with you, I don't think I can disagree. I can make arguments for every one of our kids, and I hate giving out specific awards because it doesn't epitomize the team concept. But I think this young man very clearly showed himself to be heads and heels above not only people at his own position in the conference, but also in the district. And that is, and I'm very proud to announce the most valuable, not the most valuable, the most outstanding offensive and defensive player of the year goes to Kyle Brewer.
Coach Lambert's talked about the Coach's Appreciation Award at the beginning of the program, and once again, with our Appreciation Awards, we don't look at necessarily the production of the players on the field, but we take a look at the attitude and how the player perceives the game of baseball. And this particular player was one that he contributed so much to the program that we can hardly ask him to do anything with him. To tell you what kind of athlete and what kind of kid this is, Matt Welch took off a number of days of work to come up and help us on the new field. And, you know, that just kind of tells you where Matt's at, and he's the winner of my Coach's Appreciation. Just one more thing. There's someone here tonight that hasn't been recognized for near the benefits that he has given this program. And if you take a look at our past history, within the last 5 years, we've been to the state tournament. We've won 20 games for the past 4 years. And we can't do that on our own as coaches or assistant coaches and players. And not only that, you cannot even imagine the stress, or I guess to me, I can fathom just a little bit because I got a glimpse of it this year, what it's like to be a head coach. But being a head coach is very stressful, it's very time-consuming, and it becomes a full-time job. And this year, with the project that was put on, it just became just overwhelming. And Coach Lammers deserves a great round of applause because we have one of the most beautiful fields in the state, and he's the leader of it. He's the reason why we have what we have.
Thank you, man. That's great. Really, it really means a lot. It really does. Our next award is the highlight of the night. It's our most valuable player award, as voted on by players. And players pretty smart. You know, you don't really understand the intricacies of the networking within the team until you see little glimpses of what it is they think. And when you have them vote on these awards, they give you a little glimpse of just some of those intricacies of how they think and what makes them tick. And I think that this person overwhelmingly won this award, overwhelmingly by a landslide. And I think it speaks volumes of not only him, but also of his teammates for selecting this particular person. And this year's 2001 Most Valuable Player Award goes to Andy Schultz. very proud of is seeing the number of players that we have go on to play baseball in their collegiate careers. And one person I forgot to mention, mentioned that Kyle was going down to Simpson. Travis is very happy because his brother is also going to follow in his footsteps and is going to be going to play college baseball at Rose Holman Institute of Technology out in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I think that's a great accomplishment. And that brings us pretty much to our conclusion. I want you to make sure that you look at your watches. We didn't start eating until about 1:45. So I finished this sucker up in less than 2 hours. All right? So there you go. First of all, I'd like to go through some thank yous. First and foremost, I would like to thank our administration, Mr. Fish, who's the superintendent. And for those of you that don't have any idea what kind of money, how that money got somehow into that ballpark, don't ask. Just thank Mr. Fish for what he was able to somehow find for us, because he is really the reason why we're able to acquire some of the things that we were able to acquire. I'd also like to thank Mr. Barnhill, our high school principal. I'd also like to thank Mr. Collins, our high school athletic director. I'd also like to thank Linda Lane for being our past 4 years, no longer, being our concession stand organizer, and you too, Randy.
Whatever.
9 years.
9 years? Thank you.
Evidently not. 5 years you forgot.
I've only been at 6, see, so that was the other coach's years to figure out.
Okay.
I would also like to thank two very special people, and that is, this couple. It was fun as a coaching staff because we had bets as to who would have their chairs down to the ballpark first. It actually became a betting parlor between several sets of parents, and it was so funny because if one got there before the other, boy, there was going to be somebody who was going to be very upset, and it was in a fun way, I mean. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm very appreciative of these particular people for what they provided for us, and especially Doreen for keeping the book for the last 2 years. It makes my job real simple when I go home and just figure those really quick. So, Ed and Doreen, for all you've done for us, I appreciate it. Thank
I didn't do it. Because I told him I didn't get started on it.
I'd also like to thank those parents who helped us in our field maintenance in between games. Glenn Sawyer and Shell Hayes, Travis Sawyer. Am I leaving anybody out? So doesn't forget anybody. Thank you very much. That alleviated so many headaches. My mind is trying to work on what the game's going to bring up, and it's such a pain to have to go out and get that field ready and trying to prepare for a ball game from a coaching standpoint at the same time. So, to you gentlemen, thank you very much. I really appreciate your help. I'd also like to thank all those, both players, parents, anybody else in the community who helped us put together that fine complex. I thank Coach Weedman for his kind words, and I thank you for your appreciation. But you know what? One person doesn't accomplish what we were able to accomplish. It takes a whole army to accomplish what we had to accomplish. And Don Reeves, I think, should be recognized for a great deal of individual work that he did down there as far as painting and volunteering a lot of his time and labor and finding us paint very cheaply. Donations. So Don, thank you very much for what you did. I got it. State that publicly. Thank you, Jim, wherever you are tonight. Right, all over Iowa. Lastly, I have a couple of people to thank. First of all, I'd like to thank our coaching staff. It is probably one of the most gifted, knowledgeable, and hardest working coaching staff of anybody in our high school or around the state. And I think they all deserve a big round of applause. And I'd also like to thank this gentleman to my left. You know, he spoke very eloquently and very kindly, and I appreciate that. But, you know, I didn't do everything by myself. And you would be surprised at the number of hours that this young man also put in. And you would be surprised as to how dedicated he is to this program, how loyal he is to it, and basically doing the same thing and having the same approach, the same philosophy, and that is this. Anything and everything that we do is for the kids. You know, I can't play on it. I sure wish I could, but I can't. And so everything that we do is for the kids, not only our own kids, but those kids that come and visit. And when you see the kids and you hear the comments that we heard this year and the joy that our kids had just playing in the new complex, let me tell you something. That was worth more than any amount of money that you could ever pay me to put that together, because that's what makes it all worthwhile. And I can't do that unless I got this young man right here beside me helping me. So I think he deserves a good round. Before I end the last thank you, let me just go back and review for you and your parents as to what our basic philosophy is in terms of our program. Varsity level, we're there for one reason, and that's to win. Okay? We'll put the best 9 people on the field that we can put out there that give us the best chance to win. Okay? And so therefore, as a coach, one of the only little perks that we have is the joy of trying to figure out who those 9 guys are. And that perk comes over a great deal of evaluation, a lot of practice time, spending a great deal of time working with your young men and trying to develop them, and then to evaluate them as to where we think they are in terms of providing us with that success. That is the one perk that we have. And I can honestly say that over the last 3 or 4 years, it has been an absolute joy working with your young men and working for you, because we haven't had to go through some of the turmoil and some of the nightmares and the horror stories that I get from other coaches who have to deal with irate, irrational, misunderstanding parents who are filled with rose-colored glasses. They can't see straight and don't quite understand that their son isn't as good as what they think they are, what they should, or what they should be. So you parents, I thank you for your cooperation. I thank you for your support. I thank you for understanding that that part of our job is the one part of our job that is the most difficult, but is the one that provides us with a great deal of joy in trying to put it together. And so I thank you for that, and I hope that we're able to continue the very positive relationship that we've had with you over the past 5 to 6 years. And at the JV and the freshman level, it is understood that our first and most important role is to develop kids fundamentally to help us in putting together a successful varsity program. And that's what we intend to do, that's what we're trying to do. But the one overriding factor, my friends, and I hope that you will always understand this about this program, and I will go to my grave and put it on my gravestone, and that is what we are trying to do is to develop young men. We are trying to develop young men that understand discipline, that they understand work ethic, that they understand and respect authority, they understand and respect decisions that are made, whether they like them or not. And then to be able to understand how you work through that in order to become a better person. Because that's what our job is. In the end, my greatest joy is to see somebody like Travis and Nathan, who are alumni, who come back and have been very successful in what their future, Travis, Adam, I'm sorry, in what their future careers bring to them. And I can honestly say that being part of this community has seeing the kind of parental support that our young men get, that I'm just happy to be just a little bit of a part of trying to produce those successful young men. So parents, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you young men next year. Last but not least, I have to do this, it's my job, okay? And that is, I have to thank the most important two ladies in my life. And without them, you don't get what you see in terms of our program. And this year was an absolute nightmare when it came to marriage. Okay? And I don't know of any other lady that could have sustained what I brought home sometimes at night. And the type of strength and patience and understanding that she shows in terms of what I'm trying to accomplish and what we try to accomplish with this program. And I love her dearly. And you have to understand that she's really the reason for all this happening. She's the reason why it looks like this tonight. She's the reason why we put the program together the way we can, because she allows a lot of leash for me to run. And without that, we wouldn't have half of what we got. So, to you, Stevie, thank you very much. Last thing. Gentlemen, the pictures are beyond words of appreciation. I don't know if I'll ever be able to thank you enough for that. And it really is more or less a reflection of your dedication and your commitment to this program and what you have brought to this program. And that is something that I'm never going to be able to repay, but I'm always going to be able to remember. Thank you very much for everything you've done. I wish you all the best of luck and God bless you. Thank you for coming tonight.
Okay. Sure look at it. How you doing? Good.
Everybody stand just for 1 second. Ken asked me if all of you, at some point in time, they don't have a class on the pictures yet because they'd like to have everybody that's in here, if possible, if you want to, come up and sign the frame around the picture, be a part of this here.
Can't go to Norwalk Park. Figure that out. Oh yeah, I'm gonna play
Okay, what was Jason Stan's fit?